February 15th, 2022. I keep telling myself that these frustrations are making me stronger. This was Howie's email to our Republican-focused lobbyist Wayne Pacelle, Marty Irby, former Congressman Jeff Durham, Jeff Blount, and their staffers. Our brainstorming today did some understandable meandering as we threw out ideas and answered questions. Below is my best effort at distilling it down to where we ended up. Max reported that the House Natural Resource Majority staff are very concerned that because the Big Cat Public Safety Act is so much in the public eye with Tiger King and the Kate McKinnon Peacock ads during the Super Bowl and was mocked by Republicans leading up to the December 2020 vote, that Republicans would mock it again and use it as an excuse to oppose any bill or package of which it is a part, negatively impacting the ability to pass the bill or package of which it is a part. This appears to be the basis for asking for withdrawal as an amendment to the American Competes, and is a concern that if the Big Cat Public Safety Act is included in Recovering America's Wildlife Act in the House, staff feels our best path forward is as part of the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, because it gives it a path in the Senate, but has concerns about it negatively impacting the Recovering America's Wildlife Act. It is believed that the majority leadership share this concern. Leadership is unlikely to move the bill unless staff get past this concern and support moving it. We feel that with 50 Republican co-sponsors, including Sheriff Rutherford, Republicans will not mock the bill because they would be criticizing their own prominent colleagues, but that logical assessment is not enough to overcome staff concerns. It is going to take some credible assurance from minority leadership, i.e. McCarthy and/or Scalise, that they will not mock the bill. The tactical issue is how to obtain that assurance, given the lack of communication between members of the party in the current environment. The plan discussed, as I understand it, is to ask Jeff to approach Fitzpatrick and explain the situation described above. Ask if Fitzpatrick is willing to go to Hoyer pressing for a vote, and if so, explain that first he needs to go to McCarthy or Scalise, or preferably both, and get a verbal commitment that they will not mock the bill. If obtained, Fitzpatrick would then go to Hoyer, explaining that he had these assurances, and ask Hoyer to have his staff relay these assurances to majority committee staff, along with Hoyer's desire to move the bill. In a multi-pronged effort, separately, Jeff and possibly Marty would go to Stefanik, and Jeff and possibly Wayne go to Tom Cole and ask them to seek the same assurances from Republican leadership. We did not discuss it, but I presume the idea here is to have them urge leadership not to mock the Big Cat Public Safety Act, and, if they get a commitment, to report that to Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is a moderate and the sponsor, and as the sponsor, would be the person best able to report the minority leadership verbal commitment to Hoyer. It appears there is not much point in urging majority leadership to move the bill without first getting this commitment from minority leadership, because if asked to move the bill, majority leadership is just going to ask the majority committee staff for their views and hear the concerns about the bill being mocked and damaging any bill it's associated with. We talked about involving Nels and Rutherford if they are willing. I think the ask there is for them to reach out to minority leadership urging their support for the bill to encourage getting that commitment not to mock it. We did not talk about who would approach them, but I assume it would be John given his relationships there. We also had some conversation about Jeff directly approaching McCarthy and/or Scalise for that commitment. I assume he would then report to Fitzpatrick and urge him to go to Hoyer per the path above, or perhaps convey it to Hoyer himself. As you can see, after reviewing my notes, I found this had enough alternatives that I'm not 100% sure that I have captured it. Hopefully we can clarify and start the action plan tomorrow. Howard Baskin, Advisory Board Chairman. The entire meeting had been thrown into panic because Republican Mike Quigley's former staffer, Max Frankel, reported that the House committee staff were too afraid to ask for a floor vote because Republicans might mock them like they did in December 2020 when they derisively called it the Tiger King bill and passed around memes of Joe Exotic and marijuana, which was also a Democratic bill led at the time, that they just wanted to kill out of spite over the election results ousting Trump. Anger boils up inside of me because these cowardly public elected officials just take the path of least resistance, and that's not what we elected leaders to do. That anger can hardly compare to what I had to suppress Sunday, though. A woman called me from Leesburg saying that she had a bobcat in a trap, and she wanted me to come get it for killing her chickens. Before I could even launch into my spiel about how bobcats are doing farmers more good than harm by keeping the rabies vector vermin in check, she said that the bobcat was injured. I figured she had listened to my outgoing voice message that said we don't just relocate bobcats because you see one, but then she went on to say the bobcat had an injured paw. The caller said she had been watching this lame bobcat picking off her neighbor's chickens, but as long as the cat stayed out of her yard, she didn't care. Now the bobcat had started coming into her yard and killed one of her chickens. I asked if she could text me a photo of the cat to be sure it was a bobcat and that it was suffering from some sort of injury. She assured me that the bobcat was really injured because her husband had also shot the cat. Keeping my voice steady and calm while processing that they had been watching an injured cat struggling to survive, and then, without trying to find help, they just decided to try and kill the bobcat when she became their problem, was almost beyond my capacity. Then I had to be nice to them the entire time that Aaron Carden, Michael Heap, and I were loading this suffering, frightened creature into our rescue van. Everything inside of me wanted to exact the same revenge on them for this bobcat who looked me in the eye and told me all that she had endured. I have to keep telling myself that these are all lessons in patience that I have to be learning from. Otherwise, there is no justice in this world. That turned out to be Val Bobcat. Her stories at bigcatrescue.org/Val-Bobcat. Committee chair can't be such a coward as is being portrayed. In our weekly meetings, I am mostly quiet, so it gives me the advantage of seeing when the group is thinking in circles, or if I think they are being misled by some outside source of information. That happened in yesterday's frustrating meeting where Max insinuated, but refused to expose his source, that the House committee is afraid of being mocked if they bring the bill forward. This morning, I pointed out to Howie that Gravalva was a huge win for us in being the chair of this committee, since he was a champion in the previous sessions. Why on earth would he be afraid of being mocked? I think there is some little Joe Exotic sympathizer running interference here. That inspired a letter from Howie to Marty, and Marty's letter to the committee staff. This is Marty's letter. Hope all is well with you today as I write on behalf of Carole Baskin, the founder of Big Cat Rescue, who you may have seen in Tiger King or on Dancing with the Stars. Carole has long been working to pass the Big Cat Public Safety Act, H.R. 263, Senate Bill 1210, with 254 House co-sponsors and 45 Senate co-sponsors that was referred to Chairman Gravalva's committee. The bill passed the House in 2020, but with only 3 weeks left in the Congress, there was no time to move the measure in the Senate in the previous Congress. We've been pressing the leadership in both chambers hard for a vote, and they seem to keep pointing back to the committee and Chairman Gravalva on moving the bill, and we weren't really certain what the next steps might be from the committee standpoint, considering that the bill had a hearing in the previous Congress and didn't move in the House. Carole is coming to town Tuesday, March 1st through Thursday, March 3rd, to lobby on the bill. It's her third trip in 3 months to D.C., and while we've been focused in previous meetings on getting co-sponsors, Carole asked me to reach out to see if Chairman Gravalva might have some time to meet with us while she's in town to discuss the strategy on moving the bill. Would you be able to help us set something up? Many thanks for your time and consideration as always. All the best, Marty Irby, Executive Director, Senior Vice President of Public Policy and Communications.
Hi, I'm Carole Baskin via my artificial intelligence avatar today, and I've been writing my story since I was able to write. But when the media goes to share it, they only choose the parts that fit their idea of what will generate views. These are my views and opinions. If I'm going to share my story, it should be the whole story. The titles are the dates things happened. If you have any interest in who I really am, please start at the beginning of this playlist. I know there will be people who take things out of context and try to use them to validate their own misconception, but you have access to the whole story, real and AI visuals from HeyGen, OpenArt, and other platforms. This video is for entertainment purposes only.